I began my career as an industrial designer working for a medical device company in New Jersey. It's a big manufacturer named Becton Dickinson, it's a huge company, and it's still to this day very much sort of engineering focused. So the industrial design group was small the time I was there, but it's continually grown. This was back in 2003, I believe. I began. I was in the medical device segment. They've got a number of different businesses. And so what I did was mostly hypodermic needles and syringes and that sort of thing. When we say design, that means that there was a lot of CAD modeling and prototyping sort of work. There's not a whole lot of emphasis on aesthetics. Like I said, it's mostly engineering driven. So it's a very regulated type of product. It's a very precise sort of product. But there is definitely value, I think, in introducing industrial designers into that process, into that product development process. Started out in fine arts. I always, knew that I had sort of a passion and affinity for the fine arts, and then I decided to go into college to study industrial design because it sort of combined the practical and the artistic side of things, and so I thought that was a happy medium. And the program that I went to really emphasized the practical aspects of product design more so than the theoretical or the aesthetic. And so that position that I landed at Becton Dickinson was actually a very good thing for me because it really gave me a new perspective, and it had a huge influence to this day because I consider myself more of a practical type of designer. I think the program here in the where we're sitting at the moment, it's sort of a hybrid sort of program, meaning that, well, actually, first let me take a step back. Design today isn't what it was 10 years ago, so it's changing constantly. What that means is that you're seeing more of a sort of a merging between traditional design techniques and digital. And so you've got a lot of merging from, you've got things like interaction design that combines things like software programming, software development with traditional product design. But here at SVA, there's also, they put a sort of a premium on creativity and abstract thinking as well. So they do encourage, ideas. They really value ideas. And I think that is also just as important. I think, being a good designer means being well-rounded, and so it means balancing both creativity and execution. 3D printing in particular has been around for some time, but it just hasn't been accessible the way that it is today, not at the consumer level. The way that I was introduced to Stratasys was through a job training at the time. I had been introduced to 3D printing in school, but I never really had any experience up until that point when I went to Minnesota and spent time at the Stratasys headquarters. And there I took a formal training, which is pretty intense, but also very fascinating. Because it really gave me a good foundation on which to build. And from that point on, I pretty much used 3D printing as sort of my everyday. It became a big part of my toolkit as a designer. A couple years ago, I believe in 2006, I joined a local New York City startup named S.A. Baxter. What they do is they pretty much cater to a very specialty sort of market. They produce very high-end door fixtures. It's all made to order, all custom stuff, and they sell exclusively to architects and interior designers and people in those fields. So they don't, mass produce their product, and you can't buy it anywhere except through them. I joined the company literally when it was just getting off the ground. There was a small group, and luckily, not long after I joined. The company built a foundry upstate New York with some very nice equipment. So I was a senior designer there, and basically the biggest task was to create a product line. I came into a company that had no history, no existing product, and so with that came a number of other challenges and tasks. But it was all very fascinating. There they also used 3D printing extensively. To prototype their designs, but also to make molds even. all metal product. It was all made here in the United States. Nothing was outsourced, which was a very good thing, because that meant we had full control of the entire process from concept development to production. I've also gone on to work for other bigger companies like Everlast, which is a sporting goods company here in New York as well. There, I was also an industrial designer, but the approach was completely different. You know, this is a much older, much more established company, manufactured in China and India and throughout Asia. So the development process there was completely different. One of the things that I did when I was on board is I really tried to sort of streamline the process more, by introducing current technologies into the development process. Some of those things include CAD modeling, also rapid prototyping. It's been a mix of different products and experiences that I've had over the years. So here, what I do is I'm the digital fabrication specialist, and what that means is basically that I spend a lot of time with the 3D printers and the laser cutter and occasionally the CNC router. These are, generally considered digital fabrication tools because they all rely on a computer model, a 3D model, in order to make an object. And these are, very common machines or technologies nowadays. And they're pretty much used across many industries. They're not just limited to the creative industries. They're widely used in engineering, manufacturing. And so the lab here is SVA's resource for the graduate school. And so we get a mix of different students coming in working on different projects, which is very interesting because you always see some very creative ideas and it keeps things fresh.